All right, we're back again for the final video in our food project video series. So, what's the final topic? You guessed it, food challenge. Here we go, we're going to learn all about it. So, we talked about food show and how the students compete individually. Well, in food challenge, we follow a lot of the same basic concepts of what the students need to learn. However, they get to compete as a team. Teams are made up of 3 to 4 students in the same age division. So, what are those age divisions? Once again, our juniors are our 3rd through 5th graders. Intermediates are 6th through 8th graders, and our seniors are our 9th through 12th graders. So, in Food Challenge, we put the students through a really fun contest. This is probably one of my favorite contests of the year. The students have 40 minutes to create a dish from the ingredients that they're given. We put them into categories. Those categories are main dish, nutritious snack, fruits and vegetables, and breads and cereals. So based on the ingredients in their category, they have 40 minutes to make whatever dish they can come up with. Now, we want the students to make a dish that is not just thrown up on a plate. We want them to put some thought behind it. So let's talk about how we get those kids ready for this food challenge contest. When we start getting ready, we need to know what the rules are, right? So I have in our handy dandy little foods project leader guide our food challenge rules. It talks all about all the different things that we'll have for the year. The first of which is probably going to be the most important to you. That's going to be our supply box. So this is where a lot of people kind of start tuning out. Don't do that. Supply boxes can get expensive. I know. You don't have to put one together. A cool thing about Ellis County 4-H is that I have about 12 food challenge boxes already put together. So all you have to do is stop by the office and check one out. What I do ask is that you return it in the same condition that you checked it out in, which is very well put together. Everything's clean and washed and stuck back in there. We don't leave food on the dishes and we don't leave trash in the box. We also restock it with whatever we have run out of, whether that's gloves or wipes or paper towels or whatever. We restock it. I'm not going to go over everything that's in that box. You can read the list and you'll see the boxes when you come to check one out. There's all kinds of things in there, like an electric skillet, a range, a pot, a skillet to go on the range, bowls, things like that. Measuring glasses, all kinds of stuff. So let's talk about the rules of play. When we get to the contest, what happens? Well, we go check in, we get our little name badges, and then we are given a category, whether that category is nutritious snacks, main dishes, breads and cereals, or fruits and vegetables. That's going to determine where we go in the contest. Again, they have 40 minutes to prepare their dish, put together their presentation, clean up their area, and get ready to present their dish to the judges. So, what the rules really say is that the teams are challenged with being creative and developing their own recipe with the ingredients provided. Teams must incorporate each ingredient into the dish. However, they can determine the exact amount of each ingredient to use. So, let's say we have a whole can of tomatoes, we have a whole box of pasta, we have a pound of ground beef, and some spices. Well, we don't have to use that whole box of pasta. We can make a small serving of it. We don't have to use that whole can of tomatoes. We don't have to use the whole pound of ground beef. We can use parts of it to make 1 or 2 servings. That's kind of where a lot of our students get hung up, is that they have to use all the ingredients, every bit of every ingredient that they have. They don't. They can use their own serving sizes. They need to write those down so that they can make note of that in their presentation, but they don't have to use the entire thing. They do, however, have to use every ingredient that's in there. So if you have oregano and garlic salt and onion powder and salt and pepper in there, you have to make sure you use all of those in this dish. We also we'll be providing them with the cost of each item. So it's up to them to figure out the cost of that serving. While we know that you don't eat a whole can of tomatoes in one sitting, that's not one serving. So we want to know if a can of tomatoes costs $1.69, how much does that cost per serving? How much did we use in our serving? Did we use a half a can? Did we use a quarter of the can? How much did we use? So they're going to need to use their math skills. Fun note for them, in their box is a calculator so they can be able to do that math. Each station will have their nutrition resources and references. They need to be able to name the key nutrients in their dish. Is that protein? Is it carbohydrates? Is it calcium? What is it? What are the main nutrients in their dish? They need to be able to do that. They also need to follow very good food safety. We need to teach our students that A, we wipe the cans off before we use the can opener. B, we don't swing knives around. We also don't put knives where the blade is going to be facing anybody. We face the blade out. When we are cutting things, we use different cutting boards for different things. So we have a cutting board for our poultry, one for our meat, one for our vegetables and fruit, things like that. We do not cross-contaminate. They need to know that we clean our tables before we get there. They need to know that we clean up as we go so that we're not tripping over things and we're not cross-contaminating any food. They also need to know the internal cooking temperatures of those meats. How hot should the inside of beef be before it's done? Those are things that these students need to learn. And they're in this book so that you can be able to teach it to them. They will need to be able to put together a presentation. Students have 8 minutes, I believe, to present their dish to a set of judges. So they need to practice putting their presentation together. That's included in their 40 minutes. So what we see a lot of the time is our students forget about their presentation. They're so focused on cooking that they get to the very end and they get their 5-minute warning and they've not written down anything and they have nothing to present to the judges. So as we practice throughout the year, one of the main things that we want to practice is that presentation. So I like to put kids in roles. So we have one kid who is let's say the team captain. The team captain is the one who makes sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to. Maybe we have one person that their only job is to write down nutrients and get those ready for the presentation. Maybe we have one student whose only job it is to chop. They are only in charge of the cutting boards and the knives. And maybe one student who is only in charge of the heat. They're in charge of the electric skillet or the range. All of these students work together, but making sure that everybody has a specific job is really important to make sure that they can work together as a team and that nothing gets left behind. That team captain could also be the one that's in charge of cleaning up when you're done. Because, again, you have to make sure that your whole area is clean and your hot dishes are set on top of your box before you leave. You cannot clean up when you come back. So however it is when you finish, that's how you carry it out of the contest room. So if you have stuff still strewn all across your table, everybody's got to pick something up and you still got to get your box out of that room. Okay, so make sure that we leave time to clean up. When we go into the judging room, we want to have a presentation put together that includes everyone on our team. Everyone needs to have a speaking part. It should not just be one person speaking about the whole thing. Everybody needs to take a different part of it. So some of the things that they look for are the knowledge of MyPlate. They want to know that the kids know what the food categories are. They want to know that they know how much of each of those they should have every day. They also want to know which food categories are in their dish and why are those important. They want to know the nutrients that are in their dish. What nutrients does that dish have and how much of it, relatively estimated. What do those dishes do? What does those nutrients do? What is their purpose? You know, if we have calcium, obviously that's for your bone health. things like that. But those students need to be able to convey that through their presentation. They also can, in this section, talk about healthy substitutions. If we used whole milk, what's a substitution for that? Could that be a non-dairy milk or fat-free milk or anything like that? Could we use a substitution there? Then we go into food preparation. This is where someone will explain the steps that they took to prepare their dish. Be sure to include the food safety things that you used as you prepared your dish. The next section is the serving size information. How big is the serving size of this dish? It's probably not going to be all the ingredients that you used, so talk about what a serving size would look like for this particular dish. Is it tacos? Is the serving size of tacos 1 taco or 2 tacos? Talk about that. The next is going to be the food appearance and quality. So this is where we want the kids to learn those skills of plating their food and making it look presentable for the judges. This is where they can really take some time to clean up the edges of their plate, or make sure that if we make an omelet, it folds over nicely. If we are making a pasta dish, maybe we have some sort of herb in there that we garnished with. Making sure that our plates are pretty when they are presented to the judges. Also, we want to use some creativity. We don't want to just say, okay, this is regular tacos, okay? Talk about maybe they're tasty tacos for 2 or something like that. Come up with a fun name to name your dish with, and then present that to the judges. The next thing is communication. The kids need to be able to communicate their ideas to the judges. They need to be able to effectively talk about what they did. So often I see kids get in there and they freeze up. Practicing this part of it multiple times is going to be so beneficial to those students when they get into the judging room. We also want to make sure that they are poised and that they are clean. Okay, so our girls, when they walk in, we don't want to have hair down like this. We want to pull our hair back out of our face. When our hair is down like this, we have the opportunity to let loose hairs fly into our food, and that's not something that we want to serve to someone else. And so we want to make sure our hair is pulled back. If we can put some sort of hat on, that's great too. We also want to make sure that we have put on gloves. All the food challenge boxes have a box of gloves in there for you to use. We also want to make sure that we don't wear sandals. No one wants to see your cute little toes during the food challenge contest, so make sure that you wear closed-toed shoes. So our personal appearance is going to be also important. If we spill something, we want to make sure we wipe it off and before we go into the judging room. Finally, the last category that the students are judged on is teamwork. Something that I like to do before we ever start our cooking lessons is maybe do some teamwork icebreakers. Get these kids to where they learn how to talk to each other and they learn how to work together. For us in Ellis County, the majority of our food challenge teams are going to be new, and a lot of these kids have never worked together before. So getting them to be a little bit more familiar with each other and learning how to do those activities as a team is going to be really important. Things like Human Knot or Chocolate River. Those are activities that a lot of our kids have played with us before, but maybe doing them together before you start your food challenge it could be helpful to help the kids learn how to work together. The other part that the kids are scored on is what they call preparation. This used to be called the Team Spirit score, and this is where we have judges walk around while the kids are preparing the food, and they are taking notes on their teamwork. They're taking notes on their safety. Did they leave knives out where other people could cut themselves? Did they drop food on the floor, pick it up and put it back on their tray? Did they drop food on the floor, pick it up with their hand, put it in the trash can, and use that same hand to continue cooking? Okay, those are all things that we probably need to pay attention to. And teach the kids, if you drop something on the floor, you can pick it up and put it in the trash, take your glove off, rewash your hands, and put new gloves on. Okay, we want to be as safety conscious as we can. While we might not always do these things at home, we want to make sure that we do them during the contest. And then they're also judged on their preparation. Did they use a logical process of mixing their ingredients together and creating their dish? Did they practice correct cooking procedures? Did they take their food thermometer and see what the temperature of that meat was? Did they check the eggs? Were the eggs still runny? What did they do to make sure that their food was properly prepared? Then they're finally judged on their management skills. Were they screaming at each other the whole time? Were they bickering? Were they fighting with each other? Or did they each get in there, know what their job was, and work effectively and efficiently? Were they encouraging to each other as they went? Were they uplifting? Did they speak kindly? Or did they just snip at each other? Those are all going to be important parts of their score. And this preparation score goes into their, is matched with their presentation score for an overall score. So we want to make sure that, that our students are well prepared for the contest. Next, we talked about their presentation. So in your box there is a baggie of note cards and some pencils. The kids can use the note cards. I would prefer that when they go into the presentation room that they don't have note cards to read from. If they need to glance at them every now and then is fine, but I would prefer that we not read straight from the card. But also to help them get ready to put stuff on the cards, there's a worksheet. On the worksheet has all the different areas that they're going to need to discuss, like my plate or nutrient knowledge or food prep or food safety or serving size. And it has a way for them to write it out so where it's easy for them to remember and to find the answers to. So when you go in to start Food Challenge and you want to get kids going for it, what should you do? Well, you have a few options. One is to use the Explore Guide. We have the 6 weeks Explore Guide lessons already lined out for you. You can use that. It's a great tool. Or I have some other things in here that are some suggested practice schedules, like one, learning about food safety the first meeting. The second meeting is learning about basic cooking techniques. The third meeting is identifying which member will do which job. The fourth meeting is learning all about my plate, nutrition, and healthy substitutions. And then after that, the next few weeks are learning to practice together and learning to be better. All of those things are great. One thing that I would suggest when you go into your project meeting is let the kids cook at every project meeting. Now, this can get expensive. It adds up very quickly, especially if you're the only parent there that's helping lead this project. A lot of the time it falls on you. So how can you reduce that cost to you or to your club or whatever? Well, assign each team member something to bring. Okay, so let's say we are going to make yogurt parfaits one week. So have somebody bring the yogurt, somebody bring the raspberries, somebody bring the strawberries, somebody bring the granola. Okay, there's all the parts of your yogurt parfait, and you only had to do one part of it. Split it up. You don't have to shoulder the burden all by yourself. But when you do that, make sure that we have an estimated cost of all those items so that the kids can use that in their cost analysis. Also, every time they cook, they need to be doing a presentation. Practice makes perfect, and perfect practice makes perfect. And so we want to make sure that each practice that we have, the students not only cook, but they also have to present to you. This will help them fine-tune those things on their presentation. It'll help them know better who needs to do which parts, and it will help them settle their nerves before they walk into that judging room during the actual contest. So we want to make sure that we are always presenting. Recipes. Okay, so how to look for Food Challenge recipes. You know that we have to practice, you know that we need all these skills, but how do you find the recipes? So there is a how-to page in this leader guide that tells you how to visit the Texas 4-H dish recipe book, and it gives you the instructions on how to access that. I also have in here a recipe book called Foodie Fanatics that has several different recipes in it. It talks also about the nutrition concepts and all of that sort of stuff. So all of those things are in here. And then if you need other resources, recipes, or things like that, let me know. Again, we talked in the food show video about the resources in this book. Those are our My Plate handouts. They're the food safety handouts. They are the nutrition handouts. So all of those are in this notebook. They talk about food safety tips, like making sure you wash your hands and you don't cross-contaminate, internal cooking temperatures, things like that. The My Plate handouts are good to learn about servings of each food group that you need each day. They talk about 10 tips for teen guys and girls. Why should you choose My Plate and how to do that every day. In the nutrition resource section, we have resources that talk about what the nutrients are. Whether that's a micronutrient or a vitamin or a mineral, and it talks about why those are important to us. It talks about calorie-dense foods versus nutrient-dense foods and what those are and why those are important. We also have one that talks about preparation principles, how you should cook these different foods, and what are some of these cooking terms. It also has a food substitution handout in here that talks about how to alter recipes and how to make them a little bit better. So when the kids are talking about their recipe and they want to talk about how they could have made it a little healthier, here are some things that they could talk about. All of these are in here, and they are, like I said, are on our website for you to download. That website again is ellis.agriLife.org/4 youth DEV. They're the second link on the page and ready for you to download. If you don't want to download and print out your own copy, stop by the office and I'm happy to print one out for you. Now, when is our contest? Let's talk about those. Our county contest will be on November 15th at the Ellis County Youth Expo. Food Challenge will not start until 5:30, and we will run the contest from there. Teams have to be entered with me by November 9th. I will send out those details along with the registration form to get those teams entered. When we do our county contest, I'm able to take the top 2 teams in each age division to the district contest. That contest will be held on December 12th in Belton at the Bell County Youth Expo, Bell County Expo Center. And so we want to make sure that we send as many kids as we can. So sign your teams up. Again, if you need a food challenge box, you can stop by the office and I'll get one checked out for you. Happy cooking. Let me know if you have any questions.